Christina Onnested. The British government has approved the extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the United States to face espionage charges and up to 175 years in prison for publishing classified government documents, including those that show possible U.S. war crimes in Iraq. Assange's lawyer Jennifer Robinson spoke at a press conference just hours after UK's Home Secretary Priti Patel signed the extradition order.
He faces 175 years in prison for publishing information for which he's won journalism awards the world over and has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. This should shock and concern everyone. We will continue to appeal. This is not the end of the road, and we will use every appeal mechanism available to us to prevent this extradition. We continue to call upon the Biden administration to drop this case because of the grave threat it poses to free speech everywhere and across the United States.
It follows a British court's ruling Assange could be sent to the U.S. His supporters have said he faces inhumane conditions in U.S. prisons and the death penalty. But the U.K.'s Home Office said in a statement the courts have not found it would be oppressive, unjust, or an abusive process to extradite Mr. Assange. His supporters have said they have proof the CIA sought to assassinate Assange while he was in the Ecuadorian embassy and will present that in their appeal. Assange has 14 days to file it. The committee investigating the deadly January 6th Capitol insurrection held its third public meeting Thursday, taking aim at a plan to have then Vice President Mike Pence overturn Joe Biden's electoral victory. The committee presented evidence about the plan by a John Eastman, Donald Trump's role in it, and its effect on the deadly Capitol insurrection. Pence, though, refused to carry out the plan. Christopher Martinez reports.
Democratic Representative Pete Aguilar of California summed up the topic of the day.
Donald Trump knew he lost the 2020 election, but he could not bring himself to participate in the peaceful transfer of power. So he latched on to a scheme that, once again, he knew was illegal. And when the vice president refused to go along with it, he unleashed a violent mob against him.
The scheme Aguilar was talking about was a plan pushed by Trump campaign lawyer John Eastman. Democrat Benny Thompson of Missouri is chair of the committee.
Donald Trump wanted Mike Pence to do something no other vice president has ever done. The former president wanted Pence to reject the votes and either declare Trump the winner or send the votes back to the states to be counted again. Mike Pence said no.
Former White House lawyer Eric Hirschman told of a conversation with Eastman about the scheme.
I said, "Are you out of your effing mind?"
Greg Jacob was general counsel for then Vice President Pence.
The vice president's first instinct was that there was no way that any one person, particularly the vice president who is on the ticket and has a vested outcome in the election, could possibly have the authority to decide it.
Even now, the committee is warning that the threat remains. Reporting for Pacifica Radio News KPFA, I'm Christopher Martinez.
The European Union is recommending Ukraine be granted EU candidate status, a first step on the long road towards membership for the war-torn country. Today's recommendation from the EU's executive arm will now be discussed by the leaders of the 27-nation bloc during a summit next week in Brussels. But it could take decades before gaining entrance into the EU and requires approval from all member states. The UK's Guardian reports Russia's President Vladimir Putin accused the EU of losing its sovereignty and, quote, dancing to someone else's tune, taking everything that is dictated to them and dealing harm, unquote, to its nation members, people, and economy. Meanwhile, Russia's missile strikes continue in the hard-fought Donbass region. The United Nations says they've documented some 1,300 dead in the port city of Mariupol. Russia has reduced natural gas to Europe again as countries have worked to ease their dependence on Russian supplies amidst its war in Ukraine. The World Trade Organization members have reached a string of deals and commitments aimed to limit overfishing, broaden production of COVID-19 vaccines in the developing world, improve food security, and reform a 27-year-old trade body that's been back on its heels in recent years. The white supremacist who shot and killed 10 African Americans at a Buffalo supermarket made his first appearance in federal court Thursday on hate crimes charges. The judge urged prosecutors to quickly decide whether to pursue the death penalty, given the substantial cost of those cases. In a brief proceeding, the presiding magistrate judge said 18-year-old Peyton Gendron was eligible to be represented by public defenders based on his low financial situation. President Joe Biden will convene a virtual meeting of some of the world's largest economies to discuss the next steps on climate change. Among the participants will be China, Germany, Saudi Arabia, the United Kingdom, and the European Union. Rich countries, including the European Union and the U.S., have pushed back against efforts to commit to put financial help for poor nations suffering the devastating effects of global warming for this year's UN Climate Summit. Observers and campaigners attending a 10-day preparatory meeting in Germany expressed frustration at the resistance from rich nations to formally discuss how poor countries can get more aid when they're hit by climate disasters. I'm Christina Onnested reporting for Pacifica Radio.